were first elected in 2020.
I was.
So we're coming up on 4 years here at the House of Representatives. What has the experience been like so far?
I mean, I think the biggest experience is I was elected in a pandemic, didn't have an opportunity to really engage with people, and now we're living and working and breathing here, which is beautiful because I didn't realize how much like the stakeholders and the community really play a valid part in policy making. And so I think that's been, you know, one of the most beautiful things about our class coming in is seeing that growth and actually knowing what it's like to be a legislator this year versus what it was like when we came in our first term.
Let's talk about your district, House District 4A. It's basically just Moorhead, right?
It is, and it's really wonderful because with the redistricting, got a little bit smaller, but always I've only had one school district I work with, one county commission, one city council, and so that's been really nice that I really just talk to one group of people. I have my community. We're the fastest growing community outside of Minneapolis, St. Paul, and so I pride myself on that. Sharing people, you know, that information is really important.
And how far are you away from Fargo? Is it a stone's throw?
I was a softball player, so in a good throw, I could probably get it to the river, yeah. Okay. But I mean, really, also the interesting fact is that Moorhead sits within 20 miles of like 70% of the North Dakota population.
Sure, yeah.
So, you know, I mean, that just in itself too, we have to go to Fargo or a completely other state for our health care, for a lot of our big resources.
Is it similar to Moorhead? Moorhead is one of our bigger cities in greater Minnesota. Is it different on the other side of the border?
It's totally different. And, you know, we have a lot of people that intentionally live on the Moorhead side. We're a smaller community. It's like you go to the grocery store, you see your teachers, you know that. Where Fargo's larger, it has suburbs, it has multiple high schools, it has, you know, South Fargo, North Fargo, all these different things. So I do feel like it's got a bigger community feel where we're more small town.
So you're a member of the Native American Legislative Caucus, just one of a couple of different caucuses, I believe. Can you tell us about that group and some of its priorities?
Well, it's interesting because historically we haven't had a lot of Indigenous members in this space. When we won the trifecta, the math worked out for us because to have a successful caucus, you know, you have to be able to hold some weight in your numbers. And we have 3 of us in the House. And so the 3 of us came together. It's nice because it's Duluth, you know, the cities, and Moorhead, so we're border to border. And we're all enrolled members of federally recognized tribes. And so we just know that the government to government relationship that we have with our tribal nations is a little bit complex, and you really have to be part of that community to understand it. So yes, we've carried a lot of legislation, but I think the #1 thing that we did is we've educated the other members about the reality of Indigenous people in this state, and that then has resonated at different tables and decisions that we've been able to make. And then we have chairs that like love it. Chairs who have been elected for years have never known some of the things we've helped educate them about. And so we're a sounding board. You know, we really help educate, and then we help advocate.
And we talked about it a little beforehand here. In October, the House Human Services Policy Committee met in Moorhead. First of all, how did that go? And I guess second of all, how important was that for the policy committee to come out there?
Yeah, it was really important. I think one thing I learned after the pandemic and actually coming back to work, if you look at a map, I'm like a blue dot in a very red sea out there, and so I have a different opinion of Minnesota than maybe some of my DFL colleagues do. And so it was important to me to invite chairs out to my community. Because it's a 3.5-hour drive one way. When we're in session, it's hard for my community to show up to testify. We're in the middle of winter, that's a long time. It's hard to ask my teachers to come and take a day off. And so I really made a commitment to my community that I would go back to my liaison style approach to life and just build bridges of connection. And so Chair Fisher was really excited to actually bring committee members out and host an informational committee meeting around the fact that my side of the state is a mental health desert for our kids. We just don't have the services out there. And so he came. It was fantastic. We had a room full of people. Our county commissioners were really on board to help with some discussions. But bigger than that, we've had 9 other chairs, including the Speaker of the House, come out and have conversations in my community. And I think that really matters. You know, do we have specific policy that's coming out of that? No. But chairs who go behind closed doors and makes decisions know that my community exists, and it's a little bit different than maybe their own community.
You also had the Capital Investment Committee out there. Well, some members of the Capital Investment Committee. What do you hope for in terms of bonding this session?
You know, it's interesting because when I got elected, our community's always been about flood mitigation and making sure that we protect, you know, our water, which is really important to me. It's always been important to me. I think we really need to shift to brick and mortar to support the mental health needs of our youth and our next generations. And so I think those conversations weren't necessarily heard in the past. And I think by us lifting that, I think we'll hopefully see some bonding money go towards building a mental health mecca in that side of the state. Because we've been able to put some significant funds into flood mitigation, and the federal government is helping us with that a bit too.
And I guess before we wrap up, is there anything else you'd like to work on in 2024?
I mean, my goal in this work has always been to end homelessness and feed Minnesota. And so we did a lot of work with the emergency food shelves and getting funding out in the middle of session this year. We know that we're seeing a rise in individuals who need food. And we're seeing a rise of individuals who are losing their life on the streets in Minnesota. And so for me, it's always an effort to make sure that homelessness and unsheltered populations are always a part of the conversation and how we actively continue to address that.
All right, Representative Keeler, thank you very much.
Thanks.